What's going on, everyone? So you have a couple stars as of right now that are available and likely going to be on new teams this upcoming season. Obviously, Giannis, Kevin Durant, right? Two star players that are going to have a handful of teams that are going to be in the business of trying to win that sweepstakes, right? And I've talked about the Lakers. I don't want them to get lost in the star, right? It's Lakers. They love their stars. They love to chase their stars, right? Now, again, if an opportunistic trade comes along, then sure, right? Like if you can get Kevin Durant for a bag of chips, then you might not. You might have to. It might be one of those things where it's kind of like it's too good to pass up. You don't really say no to it, right? Or if you get Giannis for like Austin Reeves, Rui, Maxi Kleba, and Gabe Vincent, and then like a first, which I do not believe would happen. But let's say, whatever, Nico Harris goes over to the Milwaukee Bucks for a day and gets to play GM for a day, and that ends up happening, then fine, yes, do it if it's an opportunistic trade. But outside of that, I think you stay away. But now that we kind of have a better scope, and I've kind of touched on this before where it's like, hey, I think the Lakers should focus on like the other pieces. Lakers need to focus on depth, in my opinion. Upgrades into the starting unit, as well as bench depth. Lakers had one of the worst benches in all of basketball. They were like abysmally bad, right? So you have bad bench and you could use some upgrades in the starting unit, particularly athleticism, centers, and two-way guys, right? Okay, so you have a lot of pieces that need to be added to the puzzle in order to solve the puzzle, which is ultimately winning an NBA championship. So instead of selling the farm to get a guy, right, like, I'd rather the Lakers just use those trades. Can they get involved in them, right? So one of the things that I've talked about, and again, now that we kind of have a better picture and kind of landscape, now that we've had the draft lottery, can the Lakers kind of inject themselves into that Giannis trade, into that Kevin Durant trade? Not for Giannis or Kevin Durant, but to get the pieces that are going to go out in that. So the Milwaukee Bucks, right, in particular, and to some extent Phoenix, but we'll touch on each one individually, right? So the Milwaukee Bucks, for example, they cannot entirely bottom out. They have like no draft picks for the next 5 years, like literally. Like they don't control their destiny at all. It's all swaps and then just picks actually going out, right? They don't have ton of cap space. They're kind of in this like cap purgatory and all this. Their other star is going to end up missing. And do you really want to take on a bunch of long-term money, to get off of Giannis, right? You'd probably prefer the flexibility, draft picks, and then gaining players, right? And then even some players that can kind of keep you afloat, right? A couple players that keep you above water. Well, if, say, San Antonio, right, who seems primed and ready to go and trade for a Giannis, right? Well, maybe you can get a couple of those pieces that are going out, right? Like, so for example, like a Harrison Barnes, who might end up having to be included in that deal. He'd make a ton of sense for the Lakers. Sizable, versatile, 3-and-D wing coming off of a good year, veteran, expiring contract, right? It's like, you kind of use him. Right? So maybe you could get in and end up landing a Harrison Barnes in the deal to just go get another sizable two-way wing, right? Or, maybe you could get one of these, whatever, Branham or, any of these guys, right? Like, can you get a piece or two, like Vassell or something like that, a team like the Milwaukee Bucks probably want to keep, but like, even like a Keldon Johnson. Right? I wouldn't hate like a Keldon Johnson off the bench. A guy go get you 15 to 20 a night off the bench. Right? Be a bucket getter for you. Right? It'd be a little, inconsistent stuff, but most guys off the bench are. Right? So like, can you go do something like that? Same thing with the Kevin Durant trade. Right? Say you end up making a trade for, the Houston Rockets. Look, Phoenix wants to win sooner rather than later. It's like, hey, would you rather have some young guys that you want to grow and develop, right, with a team that you're trying to win right this second? Or would you like a Rui Hachimura? Would you like a Gabe Vincent? Would you like some of these guys? Right? Maybe you can get, if a Cam Whitmore gets put in that deal, maybe you can get a Cam Whitmore and, a Reed or something like that, where it's like, hey, we're kind of, trying to figure some stuff out, right? Like you want to win. You got Matt Ishbia up there that's like, we're never going to tank. We're never going to hit the bottom. We're never going to be one of those teams that are, playing for lottery picks, right? We're trying to win it every year, right? And, new owner syndrome, everybody wants to win it every year. And then reality sets in and it's like, oh, okay, yeah, we got to bottom out. We got to take for the bottom, right? But until he actually comes to that conclusion, until he finally realizes like, oh, that's kind of what you have to do, Lakers could really benefit from that. Lakers come in and be like, hey, you know what? You're right. You don't want those guys. We'll take those guys, right? Even if it's not all of them, even if it's just some of them, right? So instead of the Lakers focusing on the shiny toy, right? Get some of the pieces that are, maybe that don't have as good of appeal, but could make an impact. Get a couple of the vet guys that maybe go out in those deals, right? Maybe get a couple pieces here and there, right? You got teams, like the Thunder, the Houston Rockets, the San Antonio Spurs. There's going to be several other teams that are kind of in the woodworks. Supposedly the Toronto Raptors and the Brooklyn Nets are teams that are interested in Giannis and Kevin Durant and stuff like that. Brooklyn would make a ton of sense, right? Because it's like, hey, Milwaukee, yeah, you could have a Cam Johnson and a Nick Claxton, but you're talking $70 million over the next 2 years, or we could give you a bunch of guys. We give you Rui Hachimura and a Kleba and a Gabe Vincent, guys that can kind of keep you afloat for the year, but also just fall off the books. And now you have that. Oh yeah, and by the way, we'll give you another pick swap and a first for that. And, so now you get more assets and you get the cap flexibility. And you know what I mean? Like there is a version of this where the Lakers can really kind of, instead of focusing on the main toys, right, can have just as much fun, if not more, with the other ones. Right. And now you have this like, oh, hey, Lakers just landed these 3 or 4 guys that are just ideal for the roster. Man, Lakers just got Cam Johnson and, Nick Claxton as the 3rd or 4th team in the Giannis trade, or, like I said, got a Cam Whitmore and, Reed Shepherd and, the Kevin Durant trade, right? Because they didn't want young guys. They wanted more kind of ready now guys so they can try to win. Right? Like, again, you never know. Some of these teams, you think these teams wouldn't do this, that, and the other. Nobody thought Nico Harris was sending Luka to the Lakers for, Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a first. Right? Like, nobody thought that was coming. And I'm not even talking about, like, those guys. I mean, trades happen all the time where you're just like, somebody's always got to lose a trade. Right? There's always a team that ends up getting fleeced or, doesn't get the best deal or whatever. Right? There's always a scenario. Right. Well, Lakers, while everyone else is fighting over the big stuff, while everyone else is trying to negotiate and trying to take all the big things, can you just come in and just go, hey, we'll take these guys. That's fine. Hey, you guys aren't too sure about them? Don't worry. They're ours. Don't worry. We'll take them. We'll do you a favor. Don't worry about it. Right. Like, again, it goes a long way. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass question to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? Feel what your thoughts? Agree with me? Disagree with me? Kind of mixed in the middle. How you feel? Whatever your thoughts are. Either way, I'd love to hear it. So let me know down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me out. So we enjoy these types of videos and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.